Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade. It's kindergarten to grade 2 English lesson on subject verb agreement. So, subject verb agreement. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, all right, so we'll be doing our kindergarten grade 2 English lesson on subject verb agreement. We're going to select the subject of English language arts, grade, like we said, grade 2. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of subject verb agreement. All right. So this is a continuation of our previous lesson, also on subject verb agreement. So we are now going to continue the lesson. All right. So our chapter is subject verb agreement. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 2. And the lessons that we are focusing on under the chapter of subject verb agreement is pronoun verb agreement. All right. So when it comes to today's lesson, right, we said subject verb agreement, which means that our subject as well as our verb, it needs to agree with one another, right? The subject, it is basically the person, thing, animal that does the action, which needs to agree with the verb. So we say that the subject and the verb in a sentence must agree, and that is why our title or chapter is subject verb agreement, meaning that the subject as well as the verb, they need to agree within a sentence. The subject pronoun, right? So firstly, a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So if we talk about the subject pronoun, and then keeping in mind that the pronoun already takes the place of a noun. So instead of giving the person's name, you're going to use pronouns such as she, he, it, and so on, right? They, because you're not using the noun, you are now using the pronoun. And the pronoun, like we said, it takes the place of the noun. So the subject pronoun she. So the subject pronouns is words like she, he, and it, and they may only, so it name only one person, only and one thing, right? So which means that if we use the words she, he, and it names only one person or it names one thing. And it is singular. All right. If we look at an example, right, it says when a subject is singular, which refers to one person, one animal, one place, or one thing. So when the subject is singular, we need to use a singular verb. Right? And a singular verb, it ends in is or it ends in es. That is a singular verb. And an if we look at the subject that has a singular subject, right, or singular verb or singular subject, it says he. He refers to one person. So he refers to one person. He is the subject. So you say he watches the neighbor's baby. So watches. So it would have been watch, but because the subject, which is singular, is agreeing with the verb that is singular, we're adding es over here. So he watches. And that is a singular noun or pronoun. All right. So we say he watches the neighbor's baby, which means that watches is our verb that agrees with the subject that is he, because he refers to one person. So which means that our verb will end with an s or es. So well done. And it also says it needs a new lock. So it refers to one thing. It refers to one thing, and needs is our verb, right? And it refers to one thing, so which means that our verb then ends with an s, right? Because now it agrees with the subject. So it needs a new look. All right. So that is basically where we talk about the subject and agreeing with the verb, singular as well as plural, right? So now we're going on to the subject pronoun. So the subject pronoun, right? Remember we said a pronoun takes the place of the noun. So the subject pronoun, we and they, it names more than one person or thing. So which means that they are plural. So once again, if we have a subject that is, for example, she, he, it. So we say the subject pronoun, which is we and they. All right. And remember we said that if it is a singular subject, we have a singular verb. And so we said that the pronoun you can also be plural. If we have the pronoun you or the word you, right? You can refer to one person or you can refer to more than one person. All right. So we see that the pronoun you can also be plural, and that is why I made mention of it. Can be you referring to one person as well as more than one person. All right. So now the subject is plural. Remember, if the subject is plural, it refers to more than one person, more than one thing. So we need to use a plural verb. So it is plural. So we use the plural verb. All right. So now if we look at an example, remember when our subject is, let's say, singular. All right. So now, yeah, plural verbs, they usually do not, say they do not end in S or they do not end in ES. That is the plural verbs. All right. And if we look at an example of the plural or the subject being plural, right? We refers to more than one person. We. And we say that if our subject is plural, right, which refers to more than one person, then we say only walk. We do not add an S because it shows more than one person is doing something. When our subject is plural, and then we do not add an S, we do not add an ES. But if our subject is singular, referring to one person, animal, or thing doing something, then we add an S or we add an ES. If we look at another example, let's say they, remember they, more than one person. It's a plural, right? So we say they finish, not finishes, finish early. And that is how our subject and our verb agree, meaning that our subject is plural, which means that the verb does not end in is. And when we look at the singular subject pronouns, which is like I and you, if we look at those ones, they also do not follow any of these rules. They name only one person or thing, which is I or you refers to one person or thing that they are naming, but they should be used with plural verbs, meaning that they don't add an S or ES when it comes to the verbs. So we say you, if we say you doing something, we say you sing, not you sings, you sing better than I do. Or we say I close, not I closes, I close the windows at night. All right. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca and we are going to once again go over our pronoun verb agreement. All right. And remember, we said that our subject needs to agree with our verb, right? And when the subject agrees with the verb, and then if we have a singular subject, then our verb also needs to be singular where it either ends with an S or ES. And if we have a plural subject, and then our plural subject needs to agree with our plural verb where we don't add S or ES. All right, so now we're going to look at our activity and then we're going to our test. All right, here it says we the goose some corn. So do we say we feed the goose some corn, or do we say we feeds the goose some corn? Which one is correct? Do we say we feed the goose some corn, or we feeds the goose some corn? So which one is correct? All right, and if we were to choose the correct option, remember we said that if our subject is plural, and then we need to have a plural verb which does not end with an S or ES. All right. So we can then say we feed. So if we were to choose the correct one, we will say we feed. We feed the goose some coin. Some corn. Feed. And feed is correct. We need to choose the correct option. Do we say she feel the strong wind? Or do we say they feel the strong wind? We need to choose the correct option. So do we say she feel the strong wind? Or do we say they feel the strong wind? So do we say she feel or they feel? And if we were to choose the correct option, then we will say they feel the strong wind. Remember, we said that if our verb, or let's say our verb, if our verb does not end with an S or ES, then it means that our subject refers to more than one person. It's plural. But if the subject only refers to one person or thing, singular, and then our verb ends with an S or ES. All right, then let's look at the last one and then we're going to our test. All right. Do we say we signs the paper? Do we say we signs the paper? Or do we say he signs the paper? We need to choose one of the correct or best subject pronouns. All right, and if we were to choose our best subject pronoun, right? Look at our verb. If you look at the verb ends with an S. And if the verb ends with an S, then it means that our pronoun needs to be singular, right? So it means that our pronoun needs to be singular. So then instead of saying we say he or we say she signs the papers. So well done. All right, so she or he signs the papers. All right, let's go to our test. All right, so here we need to complete the sentence with the base verb. We need to complete the sentence with the base verb. So she frightened the little chipmunk, or do we say she frightens the little chipmunk? And if we were to choose the correct option, we will say she frightens. Yes, so option 2 is correct. She frightens. Well done. The little chipmunk. The next one says we need to complete the sentence with the best subject pronoun. Do we say he hide the ball, or do we say we hide the ball? He hide the ball, or do we say we hide the ball? All right. Do we say we hide the ball, or do we say he hide the ball? We hide the ball or he hide the ball? And if we were to choose the correct option, We would choose option 2. We hide the ball. All right. So now we need to choose the base verb. Our subject is singular. Do we say it looks like grandpa? Or do we say it look like grandpa? It looks like grandpa or it look like grandpa? So it looks like grandpa or do we say it look like grandpa? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, so we can say it looks like grandpa. It looks like grandpa. All right, let's go to the next one. We need to complete the sentence with the base subject pronoun. Subject pronoun. Do we say he cleaned the house or they cleaned the house? And if we were to choose the correct one, we will say they clean the house. Because remember, when we look at our verb, right? If the verb if the verb doesn't end with an s or es, and then it is a plural, we basically add the plural subject to it. All right. So do we say he cleaned the house? Or do we say they cleaned the house? And if we would choose the correct or the best option. All right. The next one says he cleaned the house. Actually, that's still the same one. So they is correct, right? So they is correct. All right. Do we say we grins at grandma or we grin at grandma? We grins at grandma or we grin at grandma? All right. So we say we grin at grandma because remember, if our subject is plural, then our verb needs to agree with that, but our verb does not end with an S or doesn't end with an ES. All right, and if we choose the correct option, we say we grin at grandma. Grin. And grin is correct. Okay, let's look at the last one. It says, do we say we signs the paper or do we say she signs the paper? So we can say she signs the paper. She being singular and it is then agreeing with the verb ending with an is. All right. So this is now the end of our lesson on subject verb agreement. All right, so we see that our subject needs to agree with our verb. And if the subject is singular, right, and then our verb either needs to end with an S or an ES, depending. And if our subject is plural, right? All right. So this is now the end of our lesson where we said that um, in our lesson on subject-verb agreement, we said that the subject needs to agree with the verb. If the subject is singular, we need to have a singular verb by adding s or es. And if the subject is plural, we need to add the plural verb where we don't add s or es. So this is it, the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade 2, for joining the class, and I really hope that you are going to have a good day further. Goodbye.